No magic could ever stop the technology, and it's that hope in the technology that drops the ecology and all the philosophy in the gods. All right, Fatt Squirrel. We got some other bands coming up. Romo's still in the house. We got some beautiful people all around. All right,
magic
people dancing, have a good time. Thank you so very much. We'll be providing
magic of alternative media.
Have a radio show will travel. Are we going to set up a fetish night tomorrow?
I don't know if too much background noise, all that spanking going on.
Tell Ann that she's going to have to talk about marijuana.
Tony Jones here, Rhode Island Free Radio, online at rifreeradio.org. In case you forgot, we are broadcasting live from the Fatt Squirrel, Providence, Rhode Island. We are in the Knowledge District, aforementioned, but when I'm here late at night at closing time, it's the Throwing Up District. We have the Art Bar across the street from the Fatt Squirrel, and that's a great location. It's 25. You have to be 25 or older to go to the Art Bar. So if you're looking for a more mature crowd, you know, outside of your dance clubs.
In terms of emotional maturity?
Well, then we couldn't get in. That's for sure. So we announced it earlier. We'll be broadcasting live from the upcoming Cannabis Convention. Now, I'm a convention veteran. A few weekends ago, I was at the Big Toy and Comic Convention. We have Rhode Island Comic-Con coming up. I've been to horror conventions, political conventions. If you haven't been to a convention, I think this is going to be a great one to start your convention career, the Cannabis Convention. Now, you've been in touch with the organizers of this convention. What can people expect other than swinging by the Coalition booth and the Rhode Island Free Radio booth and hanging out with us? They have kind of a track record of putting on these great events. I talked to some people that went up to the Massachusetts Cannabis Convention, and they said it was packed, it was a blast, a ton of vendors. This isn't going to be your typical first-year convention of, you know, kind of cheesiness. And the PO taxpayer didn't catch any of that. Now, I will let you know that I do have a bid out on eBay for a headphone amp and a bunch of headphones. So for the Cannabis Convention, we will be fully stocked with headphones, and we'll be ready to rock there. So, it's going to be a good time. It's both days, right? The Cannabis Convention, a Saturday and a Sunday?
Yeah, it's going to be a marathon.
Or a marijuana-thon, if you will.
A marijuana-thon. We're going to broadcast all day for both shows. We hope to have some of the exhibitors on the air with us so they can explain the benefits of some of your products. So if you're not local to Rhode Island and you don't have a chance to come down in person, you can sample the flavor, if you will, of what's going on here. And that's the beauty of independent media because, over the coming weeks and months, we're going to be broadcasting and discussing subjects that nice people don't discuss on the media. We're going to continue our emphasis on the fight against the war on drugs. We're going to continue to address some of the snarkier issues.
And the reason why nice people don't mention it in the media is because they can't make any money off of mentioning it in the media.
Well, exactly. And, you offend people. You risk relationships. You risk...
Feelings were hurt.
The whole business, we don't care. We simply don't care. We hope to have a session on soon on our new Saturday night show discussing issues like legalization of prostitution, like ethics reform, like marijuana reform, like, actually, quite honestly, what's going on in the competitive media landscape. Other media organizations won't talk about what's happening in the prevailing major media. We will. We'll continually point out the weaknesses of both their philosophy and the strength of their reporting. And in the case of Rhode Island, which is should be such a media-rich, a target-rich environment, it's astonishing how few people do a good job.
I mean, if we're going to take that tack, I got to say, are we going to talk about Phil Isle? We
got to talk about Phil Al. Phil is a good friend of the coalition, a wonderful writer, and published nationally in places like Esquire. Has got running columns seemingly continually in Salon.com.
Now the question is, are freelancers the new fast food workers?
Yes.
Right. I mean, should we be worrying about getting $15? I'd like to get $15 an hour. Hell, I'd love to be able to get $9 an hour doing this.
But when you're getting 60 cents a word,
right,
it becomes a different thing. A lot of people think, and we talked about this, about how these blogs and websites and podcasts pop up, and they're there for 4 weeks because nobody really understands the level of work that goes into producing even just a 1 hour show a week. And I got to tell you, folks, one of the most enlightening experiences I had was the week that the PO taxpayer was not in the studio at 9 a.m. on 790 a.m. because I found myself 20 minutes in repeating myself and talking about the same things and saying the same things, and I knew I was doing it.
Especially if you're not taking phone calls.
And I knew it was bad radio.
It's hard. Just forget even about show prep, where the standard industry practice is 4 to 5 hours per hour on the air. You have to be willing to be... You have to read everything you can. You have to listen to everything you can. You have to be the veritable human sponge of knowledge. You have to be willing to listen to other people's opposing viewpoints, however ridiculous and banal they are, because those are the type of viewpoints you have to address
and that's
when you're on the media.
That's especially true if you're trying to do what we do and not just regurgitate what you've already heard on X media outlet.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things I've learned, like Pat gave me some homework a couple of weeks ago, and he said you got to listen to local talk radio because you got to understand how it works. You got to understand how the rhythm of it is, how it happens. And in the last couple of weeks, I know this paw socks thing has really been dominating the whole conversation, but I've heard these talk show hosts say the same phrases to the same people on the same phone calls.
And the same loser is always calling in. Pat.
Pat from Cumberland. You guys, I'm telling you, you got to listen to the radio stations in Woonsocket. Spend a week listening to WNRI and WON. I feel bad for the people who tune into these radio stations every day because they really have no idea what good radio is supposed to be.
I mean,
for people from Rhode Island who don't
have 2 community radio stations.
We do.
That's amazing to me.
And a local newspaper.
Right. Well, it's just what people don't realize who aren't from Rhode Island is that because of a geographic anomaly, and I think that's the most polite thing every term you refer to as Woonsocket, a geographic anomaly. All right.
You mean outside of 295?
Yeah. Well, Woonsocket exists in sort of an interruption or an eruption of the time-space continuum. So you literally, major media doesn't get much in there, and as a result, because of the difficulties of broadcasting out of Woonsocket, major media doesn't show up. So
you're absolutely right.
You've got this.
Once the Blackstone Valley Bureau of the Providence Journal died, Woonsocket was an afterthought.
It's still 1986.
Yeah,
and this. So
one of the things that I think a lot of people kind of discount, and I can tell you this as a son of Woonsocket, right, born and reared. Woonsocket is marginalized by the rest of the state and isolated by the rest of the state, but I think the people of Woonsocket like it that way.
Yeah, they're able to embrace failure.
Yeah, they can just live in their own little microcosm, and I say this to people all the time. Rhode Island is a microcosm of the United States, and Woonsocket is a microcosm of Rhode Island. Because we have, and this kills me, when I'm driving up 102 through Burrillville, and I see some pickup truck with the goddamn Dixie flag painted on the fucking tailgate, and I'm like, it's Burrillville. It's fucking Burrillville. This is not goddamn Alabama.
Wait a minute. Have you ever been to the gene puddle known as Pasco?
Oh, God. And we talk about this a lot, too, but the provincial nature of Rhode Island. I'm not from Burrillville. I'm from Harrisville.
Wait. Pasco, where the school mascot is a blind kid playing fiddle.
You have one fucking zip code.
Dude, remember, to quote an earlier off-air conversation, in Pasco, they truly embrace two forms of music, country and Western.
Now, I'm guilty of it. In true Rhode Island form, I lived in East Greenwich at the time. I met a girl, nice girl, and she lived in Woonsocket. Couldn't date her, too far to drive.
Wow.
Way too far to drive.
Rhode Island
geographically undesirable.
Geographically
Rhode
Island
Island
I don't
is
care
the
how
only
hot she was.
state where your dating circle is literally a circle, like a radius around where you live.
And of course, there's the fine spots of Woonsocket. I mean, years ago, Matty Allen had on WPRO had a contest to rename what was the town pool, which was referred to as the Social Ocean. And the winner, of course, was someone who came up with the appropriate approprium, which is the hepatitis C.
Which, as kids growing up, we called it the Social Ocean. And man, was it social.
God almighty. But no, if you get a chance, I'd say, do any of the Woonsocket radio stations stream?
Yeah.
No, actually, no, that's not true. NRI is on the TuneIn app, which you can also find RI Free Radio on, yes?
Of course, the TuneIn app. We were talking earlier, kind of about the media landscape and the fact that these new Buicks, I believe they are going to have a Wi-Fi hotspot, and some of those are coming preloaded with the TuneIn app. So as easily as putting on terrestrial radio with these new cars, click on the TuneIn app, right in the Coalition, right in Rhode Island Free Radio, we'll start streaming.
Well, one of the most amazing things I heard in the last couple of weeks, and, I know everybody will be surprised that the Green Party guy listens to NPR. So surprising, right?
Is that required?
Actually, it is.
You guys have roll call in the morning?
I gotta swipe my card in the car radio, like a credit card machine.
The radio's on the back of Greg's bike.
Yeah, actually, I have small, organically raised hamsters in the back, running in wheels.
Were they free range?
Are they there voluntarily?
Is there any other way? Right, and we have a contract with them as well. It's fully legal. And now I completely lost my train of thought.
We're talking about Woonsocket Radio, and I mean, isn't more than one of the shows afraid to go on the air in terms of streaming?
Yeah, so there are two local radio stations in the city. Like, they're competing for 12 listeners.
Now, I appeared on...
God bless them. They're a terrible resource to have. I mean, a great resource to have. But
there is one bright spot, though. There is one bright spot.
No, but to your point, one of these stations, I talked to the manager of the station. I think he's the owner of the station. And I said, hey, man, listen, I can come in and, revamp your website and get you all set up with these kind of online, real easy apps that work well for, massive amounts of... I mean, this is a station that when you want to download the previous day's interview, you have to download it.
Yeah.
You have to download a file. You can't just click on the play button and hear, their server playing you that song through whatever proxy they may have. Right. And the reasoning I got from the station manager was, I think that might violate ASCAP. And I'm like, 99% of the radio stations in this country are doing it. Do you think it actually violates ASCAP? No, actually, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, all those apps actually pay royalties, do they not?
Yeah, they do.
Can I make one suggestion before we go back to live music? If we could just figure out a way to get TuneIn downloaded on all the computers that come out of Rent-A-Center, we might have a shot in Mooney.
Now, I appeared on one of those fine programs.
I resemble that remark.
I appeared on one of those fine programs, and
the
program was maybe I want to say 6 to 7 p.m.
That's right. You were on. I don't want to mention the name of the show or the station.
But it was say 6 to 7 p.m.
I know the show.
Now, as we left for the day, they locked up, and we went out for pizza or something.
and wait, it was somebody's daughter working the boards and the phones, right?
I think much like myself, the host just ran their own show. which is a great way to save money.
There is one person in Moonsucker Radio who is near and dear to her heart. She is a friend of the show. That is Leanne Senek.
That's right.
Leanne works it really hard. I mean, it's all Republican radio all the time, but that's what she's into. And
she's got the street cred.
You know,
National Republican committee
she
woman.
does.
Yeah.